morning! Happy Sunday! Today I am continuing the tapping into your inner badass. I'm totally these videos are just me being me, and I'm just gonna use this as an opportunity for me to continue to overcome things like fear, which is what we're going to be talking about today. So things like this, like fear of forgetting the words, like you have those feelings like, oh my god, how could I have forgot the first word of this series that I'm doing? And then I'm like, screw it, whatever, it's all good, because this is all just part of being human. And so I actually think that was like the most perfect way to start out this particular video, because we all have these different things that pop up throughout the day, throughout our lives with decision making. You know, yesterday we talked about finding your inner purpose, and really when you start to connect to that, obviously you're going to have to make changes. You're going to have to step into new experiences and life in general in a different way than you ever have before. And a lot of times you have to overcome the fear of doing that, because anytime we step outside of doing what's normal or comfortable or familiar, fear will pop up, because that's like the parts of ourselves that are trying to protect ourselves and trying to keep us safe. And a lot of times staying safe, safe, because really there are so many things that we think are safe that are really not safe. It's just this illusion of safety. We have to step outside of that feeling of safe to go after and achieve those desires that we want to create for our lives. I mean, I just got back from the gym. This is one more example from my life. Just like I try to give you guys as many examples, even real time, as I can. I was like, oh, I haven't taken a shower yet. Oh, I have to get ready and I have to do these different things before I film the video. And then I just decided, I'm talking about overcoming fear today. Why would this is the perfect example to just show up and to not be scared and to not judge myself, or to not say, oh, I should do this or I should do that, but to just be me and be real, because that's what this whole series is all about, is owning our inner badass, knowing we are badass, and really allowing ourselves to shine as the imperfectly perfect human beings that we truly are. I don't have a ton of notes for today because I really just wanted to speak from my heart. I think that there's obviously a bazillion books out there about overcoming fear. In entrepreneurship, you hear about it very often because it's so common, because we are doing something that's very different. But I think it can be applied to every area of life. So whether we're talking about fear related to business and getting out there and doing things that you've never done before, or we're talking about relationships, or we're talking about our body and showing up in a way that maybe makes us feel a little bit vulnerable. When we are doing something different, when we are taking it to the next level, and that fear pops up, there's a lot of different opinions on what you should do with that fear. When that fear pops up, there's a couple different ways that you can address it. Sometimes fear is actually very helpful, because it shows us our boundaries of the things we should pay attention to. And I really just believe that fear is an indicator. It's not necessarily something that is saying like, hey, run away, don't do that thing, stay in your safe zone. It's saying like, hey, pay attention to this thing over there that's happening. Is that something that you need to make a decision around? That's something to pay attention to. It's like your little radar goes up. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to avoid that thing. It just means make a conscious decision around it. I think that a lot of times when we have fear, when it comes to making uncomfortable decisions, it's just because it's a new experience. It's not necessarily something that we need to avoid, but it's just something that we need to sort of get extra support around, and give ourselves extra support around, so that we feel at least comfortable enough to move forward in the direction of what it is that we want to create for our lives. So I have so many examples of this from my own life, with doing different things that are outside of the norm of what most people do. I talked about this in the first video, where the majority of the things that I've done in my life are the opposite of what you're supposed to do. And so that can obviously create a lot of fear of judgment, fear of failure, which really is at the root of most fear that we have, is that we're afraid we're going to fail. We're afraid that we're going to look silly. We're afraid of what people will think. We're afraid of not succeeding, not actually having our dreams. And it's funny that the majority of the fear that we feel is really around us sort of like projecting into the future and seeing the future as something that is not what we want. You know, we're seeing the future as failure, and all that is really an illusion. It's imaginary, right? It's not actually happening. It's just us projecting this sort of terrible situation that we don't want to have. So what if we switch that around, and what if we put our attention on seeing it the way that we do want it to turn out? Like, why is it that we're so apt to imagine it going the wrong way versus actually imagining it going the way that we want it to go? Again, I think it really just goes back to programming, because we are so programmed to like set ourselves up for, like, you know, prepare yourself for failure, prepare yourself for, you know, or don't do that thing because you might fail. Like, you don't want to feel that feeling of what it would feel like to go into the future and have that actually happen. So just don't do it. Don't take that risk. You know, when you think about it, any life that's worth living is filled with risk, right? Like, nobody wants to just sort of like sit on their couch all day and just like sort of exist through life. Like, risk is part of what makes life an adventure. Risk is what makes things exciting. And granted, not all of us are comfortable with the same level of risk. We all do kind of want that little bit of uncertainty. There's a book called Uncertainty that's about really finding your control and being in your power, even in circumstances that are the most uncertain. And so I can give you examples from my life. If you guys want to share, let me know if you want me to talk about any of these in more detail. But I've gone through a short sale with my house. I've gone through a divorce. I've gone through moving across the country. I've gone through starting a business. I've gone through selling a business, not because it was like, yay, we're ready to sell. It was selling the business because my ex-husband and I couldn't run it together anymore. And so these are all those types of things where I had to overcome a lot of fear in all of those situations. Hey Courtney, welcome. There was a lot of fear, but also in every single one of those circumstances, when I look back at it, I wouldn't have it any other way. Like, everything has worked out perfectly, even in those times where I had to feel the fear and keep going. I think that's like so common in any person who wants a big life. You have to get comfortable with feeling fear and not pushing through it. It's not like, oh my God, I'm just gonna push. It's really about acknowledging the fear, feeling it, and then setting yourself up for success. And I have a couple different ways that I do that for myself. And again, like, you know, there's so many books out there about overcoming fear. You could read all of them, and there's movies, there's all kinds of things. But these are the ones that have worked the most for me. I'm gonna pull up my little list here. So number one for me is using mantras. There's a book called The Game of Life and How to Play It, and it's super old school. I think it was written in like the late 1800s or something like that. And it has a ton of, have you read it, Courtney? It has a ton of mantras in it around money, around risk, around stepping into your power and really just believing in yourself and trusting in yourself, trusting in a higher power. And I think that that's the thing, that's the muscle that you have to strengthen the most when you are stepping out and doing things that cause you to feel fear, is to lean back into trust. And whether you're a religious person, spiritual, you know, whether you believe in God, higher power, the universe, yourself, it's a really good book. Check it out. It's written by Florence Scovel Shinn, and one of my favorite quotes from her is, "Your word is your wand." And what she's saying is that your mantras, the things that you tell yourself, the like tape that you're playing in your mind, really reflects how things show up in your life. If you're constantly telling yourself, I'm gonna fail, then yeah, you're gonna fail. But if you're constantly filling your head with things that make you feel like you're 10 feet tall and bulletproof, then that's how you're gonna show up. And it's programming. Like, you have to program yourself in a different way to create different results. And if you look at anyone who has created amazing things, and I always use like the same few examples, like Oprah, Richard Branson, like those are the two of the top people that I look up to that have created amazing things in their lives. And whether you agree with everything that they've done or not, the point is that they've created amazing things. Like, you can't argue what they've created in their life, right? So do you think they did that because they were telling themselves that they suck? Or do you think that they told themselves that they were amazing and that they were going to figure it out. Or I feel like in Richard Branson's case, and I don't really know him obviously personally, but I feel like for him, I don't think he thinks he's the smartest person in the world, but I think he believes he's a visionary, and he is able to create a team and find a way and be resourceful in order to create whatever it is that he envisions and make it true, because he believes that strongly in whatever that vision or purpose is that he's creating. And so I think that as long as you're filling your head with things that make you feel like you're a rock star in one way or another, you're going to create amazing results. There was this quote, there's this guy, his name's Eric Worre, and he spoke at this conference that I was at recently, and he was talking about how when you aim for the stars, even if you don't hit the stars, you're gonna hit somewhere around the stars, right? Like if you put your sights really, really high, you're gonna end up with something really, really amazing. Versus if you try to just aim for like status quo, or like maybe a little better than what you're doing right now, then you're not gonna get much. You're certainly not gonna get a lot better than what you're doing right now. You might get, you might hit that goal, so you're not a failure, yay, but like imagine if you would set your sights really, really high, and you might fail on the initial goal, but you achieved so much more than what you originally, where you originally started from. And so that's where I think that a lot of times our ideas around fear and failure and all of this stuff are just kind of, I don't know what the right word is. Like we're so attached to this idea of success, meaning like achieving that particular goal that we set out for, that we get so attached to that thing, when if we just sort of like opened up our eyes and looked at it with a broader perspective, and we were just like, okay, well, what is it that I want to create for my life? Am I headed in that direction? Do I need to pivot? Do I need to adjust? Then maybe things would work out so much better. And I'm totally talking about this right now from a business perspective, but let's apply it to other areas of life. So, starting out, like I got married. When you get married, you think you're going to be together for the rest of your life, right? Like that's the whole point. That's the agreement. That's what you're saying that you're going to do. When in reality, down the road, if you come to the conclusion that both of you are holding yourselves back or would be better off on your own, then doesn't it make sense that even though it's scary, even though, you have to get through a lot of that stuff of like what people are going to think and, what it's going to be like not being with that person for the rest of your life, there probably was, like for me, there was certain things that were enjoyable, but for the most part, we were just different people that wanted different things. And so we had to make a different decision. And I think that like allowing yourself to have that broader perspective around fear, around what that really means, and just playing the tape forward from a perspective of like, okay, yes, this is scary, this thing that I want to do, whether that's lose 20 pounds or go up on stage and compete, or, whether you're afraid of investing in something, for yourself or in business or whatever, whether it's about taking on a new job or a different career, or starting a business, or moving across the country, or traveling across the world, or whatever it is, like, there is going to be that fear. But if you play the tape forward and you really get to that root of like, what is this fear about? Usually it's around this idea of fear of failure, or fear of what people are going to think. And that's when, for me, so I use mantras, number one, and the second thing is that I check in with my core desired feelings. So that's from the book, The Desire Map. That's Danielle LaPorte, and she talks about designing your life not based around specific goals, like making $100,000 or buying this particular house, or having this exact number of kids, but by deciding how you want to feel and then designing your life around that. And so for me, my core desired feelings are, and they've changed, they've shifted as I've gotten more clear, but mine are joy, love, and abundance. And I feel like every sort of emotion that I want to feel sort of funnels up into one of those. And again, like the meaning of each of those words is probably, it could be different for me than what each of those words means for you, and what words light you up might be different than the words that light me up. But the point is like, if you check in with your core desired feelings, and this particular decision is in alignment with that, it's going to take you in the direction of what you want to feel in your life, then do it, and know that, yeah, it might not turn out exactly the way that you think it should at X point down the road, but if you know you're moving in that direction, then what's the harm? you know, because you're just living your life according to your rules. You're living a life by your standard that is, you know, ultimately your dream life. Because if you feel the way you want to feel and you're excited about life and you're happy in this moment, then what do you have to lose? Even if you fail, even if, you know, with business, if you play the tape forward and you go to those scary places, or even if you start this getting healthy plan and you fail, or you have bumps along the road, like, you're never really failing, because you're becoming that person who can handle that. You're becoming that person who is strong enough to be able to live that life that you want to create for yourself. And so how else are you going to get there if you don't go and travel that path and do those things that are going to make you understand how to hold that vibe? And there's like the spiritual side of me coming out. But like, if you want to be in that vibration of that person who, you know, has that lean physique, or that person who has, you know, a multi-million-dollar bank account or whatever, you have to learn how to become that person. And you're never going to do it by just sitting on your couch and not trying, not taking risks. Like, take risks and do it with that trust in yourself, and things will turn out. And they may not turn out exactly as you think they are, but the less attached that we can be to specific outcomes, and the more committed we are to just showing up and taking the next step and being open to possibilities and other things, and staying in the vibe of those emotions that we want to feel, and practicing those mantras that help us believe that it's possible for us, then things happen. That's how it happens. Like, it really, really is. So let me know what you guys are thinking. I'd love to hear from you. Sometimes I just go on a rant and I'm just in the flow and I just keep talking, but I would really love to hear your perspective on this. And if you have any experiences from your life where you have really had to allow yourself to feel the fear and then keep going, because you know that this thing that you're doing is the thing that's going to take you in the direction of the life of your dreams. So let me know. I'm going to check with my notes because there was one more thing I wanted to share too. Okay, I'll let you guys type if you're typing. But the last thing that I wanted to say is that in every one of these different experiences myself where I've had to overcome that fear, I mean, I have a list of references. Like, I could give you a list of all of the different things. My mom says, I can relate, and this sets my morning to a great start. Yeah. I think we could all get together and all share different experiences from our lives where, and I call them references, but that's what they are, is just stories of things that we've done where we had fear. And we knew we had to do it anyway, and we didn't know how it was gonna, like, how we were gonna make it happen. We didn't know exactly what the whole roadmap was going to look like, or maybe we thought we did, but then things changed, and so we had to adjust. And as long as we are moving in the direction of our heart's, you know, our heart's desire, our heart's calling, whatever that inspiration is that is from within, which goes back to the video that I made yesterday about finding your purpose. If you really are in alignment and you really are connected to yourself, and you're not just operating from your head, but you're operating from your heart. Yeah, fear is the devil. I mean, you know, fear is the thing that it blocks us. It makes us numb. It makes us hold back. It's like the Marianne Williams quote that everybody uses, like, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It's our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We are born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. And we are liberated from our own fear. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Oh my God, does that make you as excited as that makes me? Like, oh, like, that is it. That's what it's all about, is giving ourselves permission to just shine and not judge ourselves and not dim our light and not question ourselves, you know, when we're getting that intuitive hit from inside, or believing that other people know better than we do. I really truly believe that this is our gift that every single one of us has. This is tapping into your inner badass, is when you give yourself that permission to shine and not be afraid to just be you, to show up, to make decisions that feel right to you, to not question yourself based on what everyone else is telling you to do, and to know that the more that you shine and that you step forward in trust and faith in yourself, you're giving other people permission to do the same. I have examples of that from my life as well. Like I've told this story before. It's like I moved across the country and everybody thought I was freaking crazy. I moved from Michigan to California, and you know when everyone says, oh, there's earthquakes in California, well, there's tornadoes in Michigan and crazy ice storms and everything else. So like, what's your point? But everyone doubted me. Everyone thought I was crazy. We didn't have a plan. It wasn't like there was this like ABC thing that was like, oh, this is exactly how things are going to happen when we get there. It was not planned out. It was scary. And it was the most amazing road trip that I think I've ever taken, because it was so fun and so free and felt like so much adventure. And then when I landed here in Long Beach, things didn't go super smoothly, but you know what? Then they worked out. And like, if I look back at that time of my life, there were so many things that just happened that I could not have manipulated or made happen myself. It was just like people and things and stuff just happened, and then we showed up, and then, you know, people were like, you're never gonna find an apartment in Santa Monica in your price range, and then we did. And like all of these things, just this momentum, because of that trust. Because even though I had fear, even though I had, you know, in the back of my mind, like, okay, well, what am I gonna do? If I have to do it, I guess I'm gonna become a bartender for a little while, or, you know, I'll figure it out. And because I had that trust in myself that everything was gonna be okay, and I was following my dream to come and live in California, let alone Santa Monica, which was the place I wanted to live, stuff just worked out. And then you know what happened next? 2 years later, my mom moved out from Michigan. And then the next year, my sister moved out. And then my dad, he ended up getting a job and buying a house in Nevada, and he was also in Michigan, so he then bought a house in Nevada. And then my other sister ended up coming out just recently. And so I've inspired other people to do the things that maybe they thought they couldn't do either. I think they thought like, whoa, Sheila's nuts. And then when I did it and I was okay, they're like, well, maybe if Sheila can do it, maybe I can do it too. And then you see what it's like, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I want that. I want that. I don't know how I'm gonna make it happen, but I am. And so that's how it works. Like, you really truly do inspire other people. The same thing happens with health and fitness goals. If you decide that you want to get healthy and you go after that, and you really commit to nourishing your body towards your goals and fueling it. And it's not about lack. It's not about I'm not good enough. It's not about like I need to hit this number on the scale to feel, you know, good in my skin. It's about like I want to take good care of myself, and I am creating this lifestyle that supports that. People see that and they pay attention, and they see that you're happy and that you feel good, and then they want that too. And so for your family members, if they're not, you know, if they're not supportive of you, if you're trying to get healthy and really change your life for the better, and they're not doing it with you, just keep going, because eventually they're going to want that too, because that's what everyone wants, to feel good. And if you can show them what it looks like to be someone who's happy and taking good care of their body and going out and doing things that they enjoy with their life, they're gonna eventually ask you how you do it. And the same thing goes for just everything. It's the more that we can allow ourselves to know that as human beings, yes, we feel fear, but as we move through the fear with confidence in ourselves and continue to support ourselves with mantras and surrounding ourselves with uplifting people that are on the same path as we are, and just continue to just like plug in those positive references about like how this worked for that person and this person and that person and this person and that person and this person, and if it worked for all of them, then I can figure this out for me too. I hope that was helpful. Do you guys have any questions, or is there anything, like, do you want me to share more stories? I just have so many. And that's really why I'm here, because I want to share, like, this is why I'm doing this series, is because I want to help every single one of you to truly tap into your inner badass. And you know as well as I do that that's not going to happen by just sitting on the couch. You know, that's not going to happen by watching reruns on TV or hanging out with people that don't make you feel good, or just keep doing the thing that you've been doing because you're so scared to do something different. You know you've got to make changes, and to be able to give yourself that permission to say, like, yes, I have emotions. One of them is fear. I feel it. It's there. But you know what? I am so committed to this vision. I am so pumped about what I want to create for my life that I'm willing to do what it takes to get there. And a lot of times if you create a roadmap, then, you know, a plan, like you get a plan on paper of how you're going to do whatever that is, you know, when it comes to health and fitness, obviously creating your plan that's the structure that you need to feel like, okay, I've got this, I know what to do, I'm gonna make these meals and I'm gonna do these workouts and I just feel super pumped about that, then that's one thing you can do. If you feel stressed about money, like my friend Brittany Castro, her company's called Financially Wise Women. She was the one who taught me about having a money date, and you just sit down with your money and you do your budget and you do all the stuff, and a lot of times it can be a lot less scary if you just look at it. And you like look at the thing that you're scared of and you just decide like, okay, yeah, this is something I'm scared about, but you know what? I'm bigger than this. I am so much more than this. I have a vision that's so much greater than this, and I'm just going to keep taking those steps forward. I'm going to know that as I follow my intuition, as I follow that inner guidance, everything will work out, and it's that trust that's going to get you through. So I'll end there if you guys don't have any questions. Tomorrow I'm going to be doing another one of these pretty much every day this week. There's Wednesday, I think I have client calls at 9 a.m. 12 Eastern, so 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 Eastern. So I'm going to have to do the video later in the day on Wednesday. But other than that, I'm going to do one of these Facebook Lives. Did I call it a call? I'm going to do one of these Facebook Lives every single day at 9 a.m., around 9 a.m. Pacific time. And I'm going to be covering this topic of tapping into your inner badass. So show up, ask questions. If you guys watch the recording, please let me know you were here. Leave a comment below. Feel free to share this video with anyone that you think would benefit, that needs to hear this. And I will see you tomorrow. And if you guys feel like you need further help on this, I am taking on some more one-on-one clients. I have a waiting list right now, but I have a couple spots opening up. So if you want to talk with me more about this, if you want to find out more about my coaching, set up a call with me at Discovery Call by filling out the application at sheilabeers.com/coaching, and we'll get on the phone. We'll talk about your current goals, your challenges, and how I can help. So I hope you have an amazing Sunday. I'm gonna go take a shower and like get out of these workout clothes and go enjoy my day. So take care. Bye everyone.